Today I'm going to be talking about a basic spell script written in C++ and how to implement this into your core via custom scripts. This is a fairly basic script, and I'll share a link down in the comments below so that you guys can access this later. Maybe test things out, change things, figure things out for yourself by changing just little things here and there. But yeah, I've been planning to do other videos, one of them for spell enchantments, but I was working on this and I figured I might as well just do a recording, show you guys how it's done. People oftentimes ask me about how to load scripts into their core. I figured I'd go ahead and show you in case you were interested in the process. It'll be useful for some of you who are starting out in C++. Okay, so what is this script? Basically my attempt to recreate one of the Legion legendaries. And basically what this legendary does is it makes your Scorch into an execute spell. It was one of my favorite legendaries back in Legion, so I figured I'd go ahead and script that out. I've already done Pride As, which was actually kind of fun to do. Pride As was basically this neck, right? More than happy to share this script with anyone who wants it as well, so just go ahead and DM me on Discord. Show you how I put things together. Yeah, so today we're just working on Coralon's Burning Touch, essentially. So I already modified Scorch in Spell Editor to update the description, right? So Scorch the enemy for X fire damage, does 350% increased damage on targets below 35% health, and castable while moving. So it's a little bit different, right? I didn't want to give every single effect all up front, so yeah, I'll show you how I divided things. But basically, this is a basic C++ script where I'm essentially turning Scorch into an execute spell. So first thing first, you have your header files up here at top. These are essential for linking the Azerothcore functionalities we'll use later. Think of them as like the starter kit for any WoW spell script. So class, spell, mage, Scorch, execute. This is where we declare our class, or in WoW terms, the custom spell we're creating, right? Public spell script loader basically tells the game engine that we're making a new spell based on some existing rules. We're modifying an existing spell. Public just means that everything that follows can be accessed by other parts of Azerothcore's engine. This is standard for WoW custom spells, right? Constructor, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but it's basically like the game engine's way of saying, okay, we're working with a new spell called Spell Mage Scorch Execute, right? And inside we have a nested class to actually build the spell logic. This is getting into the actual behavior of the spell. It's like a sub-recipe that defines what happens when the spell is cast. We go ahead and prepare the spell, setting up our nested class to interact with the Azerothcore engine. You'll see this line in almost every custom spell you create. Handle on hit function. This is the heart of the script. Basically defines what happens when the spell hits a target. In WoW custom spell development, you'll often work with events like on hit, on cast, etc. And of course, we're also wanting to check the health of the player's target. Checking two things here. First, spell hits someone. Second, is that someone below 35% health? And if both conditions are met, then the next part can continue. Here we're just increasing the spell's damage by 352%. This is where you can get really creative with your custom spells. And int32 refers to a 32-bit integer data type. In C++ and other programming languages, integers like this can be represented with varying amounts of memory. Why is it important? Well, World of Warcraft and similar games, you often deal with large numbers. This basically makes sure that damage can hold large values suitable for the game experience like WoW, right? So, yeah. And so once we actually hit something, ramp up the spell's damage by 350%, and F really, at the end of this 4.5F, just indicates that the number is a floating point constant. Adding F to 4.5 explicitly tells the compiler, hey, treat this as a float, not a double. That's probably a little bit more complicated than we need to get for this video, but anyway. And then inside this is an extended function. Like we could basically just end there and we'd have a modified spell, right? But I also wanted to add a tier set bonus for mages, where basically your Scorch executes now trigger Scorching Precision, increasing your critical strike chance with Scorch by 35% and reducing its cast time by 0.25 seconds for 4 seconds. This is just a dummy spell. by the way. So it's just a dummy aura. We don't really need this aura to do anything except, you know, maybe target the caster or whatever. It can target any, that's fine. I kind of keep target any just in case I need to make another dummy aura, but use it for something else. These numbers here don't mean anything. It's really just the apply aura and then spell aura dummy. That's the important part.
You also want to make sure that you use the duration ID 21.
Range doesn't matter, you can just do self, that's fine. But again, in this case, like it just doesn't matter. So yeah, and then passive, do not log in spellbook this is usually a pretty good thing to check off, just so that obviously those three you can check off. It's also probably a good idea to make it persist through death. But if it's on a weapon or a armor, right, then usually it doesn't matter. But let's see. So under attribute extra 3, there's this death persistent checkbox, and you just tick that, right? And then you just hit save spell changes. That way, if you die and you have something equipped, it just makes sure that you don't lose that. You probably don't need it with these things over here, but it's just nice to have. And then, of course, I have the actual Scorching Precision spell. This description is not right, but so this is the spell name, Scorching Precision. The spell tooltip is what you'll see in your aura at the top right, when you're playing the game. And then, yeah, I just modified it to increase your critical strike chance by 25% and casting time reduced by 0.25. So this is wrong, but 251. So you always want to be 1 point higher or lower. If you're trying to decrease this by like 0.5 second, it would be 0.51. So, and then this Misc value here just says that it's modifying this flat modifier, which is cast time. And then, of course, the spell class mask is 16, which is for Scorch. Also, you got to make sure that your spell family name is the same for your class that you want to do. So for mages, it's 3. And then the duration I just set to 4 seconds. What I did initially was actually just copied Improve Scorch, and then I modified that spell. It's always good to start with the base spell that does something similar to what you want. And then I turned it into an ability and removed these passive and do not display checkboxes just to make it viewable so that players know exactly when they get the spell, right? I also made it dispellable with magic, so if a priest comes along, they can dispel it. You could add a spell visual if you want, but with my script, the spell visual wouldn't appear anyway. So that's the DBC side of the spell. So back to our actual C++ script. So yeah, if the caster has this dummy aura that I mentioned, right, which I can put on a tier set, then when the target is 35% or lower, and you cast Scorch, then a new aura, which is the Scorching Precision aura, the one that actually modifies the spell, is added to the player, right? Sorry, right there. So caster, add aura. And that's pretty much it. Just register the function to be called when the spell hits the target, right? So that's how we know when this is supposed to proc or when this is supposed to occur. So the rest of the code is basically closing off a recipe and telling the game, hey, we have a new spell. Let's use it. This function is really important to add. What it does
is really tell the function to not return any value. It's just performing an action and then exiting. This function name here, add SC, stands for add spell custom. It's then followed by the name of our custom spell.
But yeah, basically this is the handshake with the Azerothcore's engine. So when Azerothcore boots up or reloads its scripts, it looks for functions like this to know which custom spells to include. Without this function, your custom spell wouldn't be recognized, and all that hard work you put into it would just go unnoticed. So, but that's basically it. And if I wanted to, you know, because I'm basically going to attach this script to basically every rank of Scorch, and if I wanted to, I could actually script more into this later on. So if I wanted to add another aura that did something different, you know, when the player has an aura, and have them trigger another spell, right? We could do that. That's really awesome. So we have our complete script. So now what do we do with it? There's a custom script loader in your Azerothcore file. This is obviously for people who have their own servers, right? You could theoretically make this in Lua scripts. It would just end up being a player script, and that's a lot less efficient than a spell script. Yeah, I opened this up in Notepad++ just to write it out, make it easily viewable. But yeah, we need to go into our Azerothcore folder where we compiled our server. We go into source, we go into server, to scripts, and custom. And this is where we have all our custom scripts, right? You can have multiple scripts in the same folder. Doesn't matter because you're going to put them all in this script loader anyway. Basically what I'm going to do now is just copy an existing script, right? So paste that. I'm going to rename it Scorch. Execute. Okay. Then I'm going to go into that folder. You can create a new folder just with like Notepad or whatever and just name it .c++, .cpp, right? So, and then I'm going to go ahead and rename this to just match Scorch Execute. So this is the Zaverix Shield script. It's actually a lot shorter than I remember it being. It took me a while to figure out how to get the player's max health right and then calculate a percentage of it. But yeah, anyway, so let's just get rid of that. And we're going to go ahead and plug in our script here. So plug it in. Great, we have our script here. And then we have the function to add the custom spell to the Azerothcore system, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this function, right, the add spell custom function, and we're going to go over to the script loader, custom script loader.cpp, this one right here, right? And I already have a bunch of these scripts added. You want to basically add that line there with a semicolon. Then you want to add it down here as well, but you get rid of the void part. And you add a semicolon. Don't worry about these commented out scripts. They're crap that I never ended up using. So anyway, so go ahead and hit save. Go ahead and hit save. And that is pretty much how you load a script in. We also have to do something else that's very important, which is go into our database. And we're going to look for spell script names. Now, one thing to note is that if a spell already has a script attached to it, you're going to want to look for that spell script and just modify that spell script directly. But these negative numbers is basically the first rank of a multiple rank spell, and it's letting the core know, hey, I want to apply this script to every single rank, so you don't have to sit there one by one and it on every single rank, right? So I already added this in. This is right here, right? So -2948 is rank 1 of Scorch. 48 is, right? By the way, I also made this castable while moving, because I always thought that having a Scorch castable while moving was kind of cool. And all you do to make it castable while moving is just uncheck the on movement part for the interrupt flags and on knockback if you want. But anyway, so yeah, now we have that actually in the database. After that, we're going to close down our server. Can add our spells here now if we want to. So all you would do is go into spell editor, right? Export checked files to DBC. Wait for this thing to finish loading and uncheck these if you want it to go faster, if you're not worried about all this visual stuff. We open up Lattice MPQ editor. We go into the patch file that has our DB files client, which for me is patch Y. Then I take the spell DBC, put it in the client MPQ so that our client can recognize the spell and it actually has a visual, right? Then I'm going to go ahead and put it in my server's DBC file. which I have in my quick access, but basically this is just in your data directory with all your DBC maps, VMaps, and cameras. You just go to DBC. Then after that, we're just going to go ahead and recompile with CMake. So configure, generate, open project, and then I want to make sure that our script doesn't have any immediate issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop the script into Visual Studio. And it will tell me if there's anything wrong with the script. This is stuff that doesn't matter. So the only stuff that really ever matters is the errors. This error, for whatever reason, just shows up every time. But you just want to make sure that this red X doesn't have any marks on it. If there's something wrong, it will yell at you. So let's just add, right? Whatever, right? So we put in something wrong. It's got marks all over the place. It's got this red X, and then we have an error over here under, identifier shade undefined, whatever. So yeah, we just get rid of that. Hit save, right? Clean, rebuild, all that fun stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video here. All right, we're back, and we had a successful build. We don't have any major errors, right? There's nothing that said, hey, the build failed. You suck, try again. Then we take our new binaries. And we copy them over to wherever our directory is. Right, usually you only need the world server binary. Sometimes it's nice to update the auth server, but anyway. Now we're just going to start up the server. And if there's anything wrong with the script, it'll usually send you a warning telling you, hey, you either forgot the script or you forgot to put it in your database or something else, right? So then we're going to go ahead and start up the client. And if you're an idiot, you left your MPQ open. Again, start up the client. And then we're going to, of course, find the applicable class that we want to test things out on, right? So I have a mage. I create characters all the time, guys. Like, I don't have a consistent character that I play. Anytime I have to do a major database update, I usually just end up deleting all my characters and starting over, so that's fun. And that's kind of annoying. What is that seam? All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and test this out. VM off. Let's just modify my HP so I don't get killed immediately. Give myself some more mana. And we're just going to go ahead and start attacking something, preferably something that doesn't stun us a bunch. Of course, what we're looking to make sure of is that the spell works below a certain percentage. I don't have the custom aura on me currently, but as you can see, my Scorch spell is doing 176, 180, 193. Alright, now we're finally down below 35%, so look, 771 and 1165, so again, 783, 740. Alright, cool. So we know that the base function of the spell works, which is the execute portion, right? But now we want to test out the actual tier set, or the aura for it at least. So let me get that aura ID. 880044. So cast 880044. Then we're just going to go ahead and test it again, right? So right now, Scorch's cast time is 1.5 seconds. At 35% health, I should get an aura. That modifies the critical strike chance of Scorch. Alright, so 30%, keep your eye out for an aura at the top. Alright, so we're at 32%. Keep your eye out for an aura at the top right. So yeah, looks like we got it. That's good. Let's just make sure that our cast time is going down too. And it looks like it is, so 1.25 second cast, right? So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That's how you do a custom spell in World of Warcraft. And what else is there? So oftentimes people ask me about these Misc values and what they do. Like what is Misc value 10 for 107? Well, I came across this list, which is actually a conversation on Stoneharry's GitHub. I was just trying to figure out what the heck are these Misc values and is there a guide somewhere. So this is what I used initially. I look at the core a lot more now, but this still continues to be extremely helpful. And Chromie actually came up with a list of spell auras, what their Misc values do. So mod resistance, right? 1 is armor, 2 is holy, things like that. So that's what they do. So for 107, for example, this is a flat modifier, and then 108 is a percent modifier, right? So 0 is damage, 1's duration, 2 is threat, charges, range, radius, crit chance, etc., right? And you get kind of a feel for what these all do just with working through enough spells, looking at glyphs, things of that nature. But this is a really good reference. So I would say, so I'll go ahead and put this in the description link down in the YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's a general overview, not just of spell scripting, but also kind of spell values as well. If you guys would like more videos of just dissecting individual spells and seeing what they do, how they were made, and how you could put something together that's like it, I would actually love to do that because I love spell work. I think spell work is super fun, you know. I think it's fun trying to connect certain spells, right? And yeah, I mean I got tons of custom spells that I've made over time, and I've learned a lot along the way, but there's still always more to learn, right? So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I will see you guys on the other side of Azeroth.